Hey everyone, Ken here again. Thank you so much for tuning in to our live stream on Sunday, or maybe if you caught it later in the week on our YouTube channel. We had a few questions that came in during the sermon, so I'm going to take a shot at answering some of those now. So here we go. Here's our very first question. Can Jesus really understand how it feels to lose control if he voluntarily gave up his control? It seems different to our situation. That's a great question. Thanks for sending that in. The author to the book of Hebrews answers something very similar to this. So he gives us some help here in chapter 4, verses 14 and 15. So let me read that to you. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has ascended into heaven, Jesus, the Son of God, let us hold firmly to the faith we profess. For we do not have a high priest who is unable to feel sympathy for our weaknesses, but we have one who has been tempted in every way, just as we are, yet he did not sin. It's great. We have this wonderful picture of Jesus who he actually experienced what's common to all of us. He went through the same temptations, went through the same difficulties that we did. But the amazing thing about him is that it says what he says just before that we have Jesus, who is this great high priest. He's actually ascended to heaven. And so he's there advocating for us. So as we experience what it is to have to give up our control for the sake of others, we know we can look to Jesus, who is sitting, reigning, and ruling in heaven on our behalf. And he's actually experienced the same thing we did. So he totally gets it. He totally understands. And actually, if you think about his situation, near the end of his life here on earth, if you remember in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was praying and he said, Father, please take this cup from me, because he knew what was coming. He knew he was going to the cross. He said, Father, please take this from me, but not my will be done, but yours. And so there's an example of Jesus actually giving up control over to his heavenly Father. So that's our first question. Hope that helps. Here's the next one. What does it look like to give up our control in our current situation of staying at home and restrictions? Yeah, this one's probably useful for all of us. We're all experiencing what it is to stay at home and all kinds of restrictions. The streets are totally empty of cars and people. And so how is it that how can we do this? How can we find the resources for that? We talked about this as a church not that long ago when we looked through the letters to the Corinthians. And we learned in there actually that one of the things it looks like to be a Christian and to serve other people is to be willing to give up not only your desires, but your preferences and even your rights for the sake of other people. And that's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked at this time to give up our desires, our preferences, and our rights in order to serve other people. So we're giving up the right to go out on the street. We're giving up the right to go to a restaurant. We're giving up a right to hang out with our friends, to go to school, to do all sorts of things. And we're doing it in order to serve other people. The next question actually is a really good follow-up to that. So let's have a look at that one. Lots of non-Christians are also giving up control. How is it different for Christians? So that's true. Everyone is in this same boat. So how is it different for us as Christians? Well, if you think back to the story we looked at on Sunday, you notice that Jesus gave them both the word and the bread. So he gives them the bread, which is the tangible thing, the thing that filled their stomachs, but he also gave them his word. That's how it's different for us as Christians. We want to serve people. We want to give them the bread, but we also want to give them the word. We want to give them the goodness of the gospel and help them understand that the reason that we're serving them is because Jesus has served us. So I hope that helps with all those sorts of questions. We had another one come in that wasn't really about the sermon, but I want to address it really quick. So here we go. Here's the last one. Are you guys practicing social distancing as you record the live stream? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you on my phone what our room is like and how spread apart we are in here, just to give you a little bit of a sense of an understanding that actually we're doing the best we can to practice what the government has given us. Also, just so you know, the information that came out this week actually gave an exception to houses of worship, to churches, to actually come together to record live streams. And so we're doing everything we can to follow that. And the government's actually given us the right and the ability to come together to record these things so that our whole church family can stay at home in the midst of all of this. So us recording this now is actually a way that we're providing an essential service for the whole community. So here we go. Let me just pull out my phone and I'll show you what the room is like. All right, so here we are in the room, and let me just show you around the room just so you get a sense of how far apart everyone is, and give you a little insight into what it looks like in here too. There's our camera there, so wave at yourself, everyone. There's the chair there for the person who is either preaching or leading the service. They're never in the same place at the same time, so they can share that space there. And then all the way over here is where the person leading worship will sit. So that's where they sit, in that corner over there. And then if we get up and go around here, there's some nice plants for you. And and there's Chris. Chris is the one who's actually made all the tech happen, so we're really grateful for Chris. So there you go, give you a little insight into how the room works. Tune in on Sunday, we'll see you then.